It's official, the CJI2, the Craig Jones Invitational number 2, coming in 2025. Craig Jones just announced this last week. Big news, big stuff. They've got big promoters behind them. They've got big advertisers behind them. They've got celebrities behind them. They've got the grapplers behind them. They have the minds and the marketing behind them. Can they recreate magic? Can they catch lightning in a bottle again in 2025? That's going to be the question. But right now, Gordon Ryan coming out and has a lot to say about Craig Jones, taking to Instagram, saying quite a bit of stuff. Craig and Biden, obviously Joe Biden declining in his health, whether you sit on one political side of the aisle or not. The guy has been in some deterioration for some time, so Gordon Ryan not a big fan of Biden, and he's going to conflate Craig Jones and Biden together. They have a lot in common. All they do is lie and lose. And again, it's politics. It is what it is, whatever. Gordon Ryan obviously does not like Biden. So, Gordon Ryan then taking to Instagram here, reading this out. It's going to be a hefty one, so stick with me. We're not here to argue or anything, just like to pop in and occasionally point out blatant lies by the morality police. Can't win a comp. Craig's entire reason for throwing CJI on the same day as ADCC was because he wanted athletes to get paid more. Again, this is what Craig Jones set out to do. So he had to do it on the same day. He stated on Joe Rogan that if ADCC would have upped the prize money, he wouldn't have done it on the exact same date, except he told ADCC or made it public that those were not the conditions. He did not ever say this publicly, even though he did on the JRE. He just made it up. In addition to saying he was going to do this because he cared about the athletes, he just didn't even give enough of a fuck to have even a women's division, LOL. He thinks so little of the women's half of the sport that he didn't even have a place for them. Listen, women's athletics, women's grappling, women's wrestling, it has its place, okay? Women can compete. There's nothing wrong with women competing, but there isn't the same level of draw to it. They're not the same level of athletes, the same level of skill as most of the men are, and that's just up to your physical anatomy. And so, again, that's become a whole political issue, but that's just a fact. Women aren't as dangerous in the grappling. They're not as dangerous in the striking, in MMA. Like, they can't dunk the same that men can. They can't jump the same. Like, it's hard to sell that to a casual fan, but it's easier to sell to men that are in the fighting prime, taking steroids, jacked up, juiced up, really physically just in the peak of their physical conditioning. That's much easier to sell to a general public, general appeal, mass appeal than a women's division. Maybe in a couple years they can work their way down to a women's division. We'll see what happens. But Gordon Ryan's going after him for that. Listen, ADCC I'm sure did not start with a women's division. Let's be honest here, Gordon. He could have easily added 2 women's divisions and split the prize, but didn't. So now he has apparently raised money for a second event, which will be in August. So my question is, if you are doing this because you care so much about the athletes, why wouldn't you do this event on the same day as GI Worlds? With ADCC having an off year, this is the perfect time to go after IBJJF for not paying athletes. ADCC has not paid athletes since its inception, since losing tens of millions of dollars in the last 30 years. IBJJF has only recently started paying athletes and has been making millions the whole time, if not tens of millions for decades. So if this wasn't a personal vendetta, then you're really out here doing this for the athletes and to stick it to the big establishment who aren't paying enough. Why on earth would you not do the event on the same day as the biggest top-level athlete-wise IBJJF tournament of the year and pay the athletes what they deserve? I'll tell you why, because you never gave a fuck about the athletes in the first place, and this event was your own selfish attempt to get people that you don't like because they're way more successful than you. Some flawed logic, hypocrisy, and lies left and right. That's all from me, folks. Have a nice day. That was courtesy of Gordon Ryan. Long-winded there. Let's take a listen back to the history between Craig Jones and the guy running the ADCC, Mo Jassim.
Is Craig Jones really going to be the next president of ADCC? Okay, let's backtrack. On Wednesday, October 4th, Mo Jassim went on the ADCC Instagram live chat and said that if he were to ever do another world championship, he'd do it very differently. This quote is what got the jiu-jitsu community talking about whether or not he's the best fit for the 2026 World Championship. And on Sunday, October 13th, he announced on his private Instagram that he'd be stepping down. Now, it isn't uncommon for companies or promotions to give their public-facing leaders the opportunity to step down instead of being fired. So, in typical Craig fashion, he has the top comment basically saying, "You can't fire me if I quit." And this comment definitely rubbed Mo the wrong way, which could mean there's some truth to it. So Mo responded and kind of gave the same story that he used to give in the ADCC live chats. And at this point, it's just jiu-jitsu nerds arguing on the internet until Mo took a low blow and criticized someone's tooth, which inspired Craig's dental rebuttal.
Is that Mr. Mo Jassum? Craig Jones here calling about.
And again, this is Craig Jones and his classic marketing schemes here. Great, hilarious figure in the jiu-jitsu world. Great, hilarious figure in the combat sports realm. He's been on shows like Alex Jones. I mean, this guy's doing everything, everywhere, at all times, and it's absolutely hilarious. Take a listen.
Craig Jones here calling about the Abu Dhabi Dentistry Group. Now, you are, in fact, late on that repayment on those beautiful veneers of yours. And we're going to need that money. So, whoa, let me stop you right there. We do not accept prestige as a form of payment.
Hopefully that cleared up any confusion. I personally don't think there's any real bad blood between anyone. More of just trolling to try to get a reaction or to get someone to admit that they're wrong. But let me know what you guys think. Is this the finale or will things continue?
Great video from Alex Wendling here. She's obviously covering CJI back in August. She was covering it. Likely will be working with them again. She's involved in a lot of jiu-jitsu, combat sports stuff. Great stuff on her channel. Go check her out, whatever. But CJI2, Gordon Ryan seems to have a big problem with it. What do you guys think about this in the comments down below? The war between Craig Jones, Mikey Musumeci right now, and Gordon Ryan now. ADCC, CJI, and the UFC stuff. It's all this interlocking battle, give and take, just this three-way fight between two huge superstars in grappling. I think, honestly, the competition will be what ultimately takes jiu-jitsu over the top. It's the golden era for jiu-jitsu, and most people are saying online that I see that it's because of the CJI and how great it was and how fun it was, and I thought it was fantastic. It was the best show that I'd ever seen jiu-jitsu-wise, but the competition amongst this new UFC stuff, Gordon Ryan with the more traditional side of things, and then Craig Jones' new thing, dude, this is going to be really, really fun, and I think competition always breeds excellence, and I believe that this will ultimately create something better than what we already have. Either 2 or 3 of these may combine. Who knows what's going to happen, but this is going to be really, really fun. A lot of competition means that we're going to get a lot of good grappling, a lot of good content, a lot of good marketing. Everything about this, really, there is nothing wrong with it in a lot of sense, because ultimately, at the end of the day, something has to give, and what has to give is the born and bred promotional ability of one of these guys, 2 of these guys, or 3 of them all coming together under one banner and creating something fantastic and greater than ever could be thought of. That's what competition breeds. It breeds excellence, whether they stay split apart or whether they ultimately come together somehow. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. So you guys let me know what you think about all this in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.